Rome was a city, but barely a people. Romulus had drawn his furrow, raised his walls, and flung open the gates of asylum to any man who would come. Runaway slaves, exiles, debtors, the desperate, and the displaced. They came in droves, the new city filled with men. But they were men without wives, without mothers for their children, without any prospect of a second generation. Rome, if nothing changed, would die with the men who built it. Romulus sent embassies to the neighboring peoples, the Latins, the Sabines, the surrounding tribes, asking for the right of intermarriage, the ancient and honorable joining of peoples through the union of families. Every embassy was turned away. The neighbors were contemptuous. Who were these Romans? A rabble, a mob scraped from the gutters of the world. No father of standing would give his daughter to such men. Romulus received the insult quietly and began to plan. He announced a great festival, the Consualia, games held in honor of Neptune, patron of the horses. The invitation was extended widely, and the neighboring peoples, curious and unsuspecting, came in numbers. The Sabines came in whole families, fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters, dressed for celebration, expecting spectacle. They got one. At a signal from Romulus, the Roman men rose and seized the unmarried women, the virgins, from the crowd. The guests scattered in panic and outrage. The fathers fled, crying out that the laws of hospitality had been violated, that the gods themselves would take vengeance on such treachery. The new city of Rome had made itself a byword for crime, but Romulus moved through the chaos with purpose. He approached the women one by one, or had it done in his name, speaking words of reassurance, not triumph. These were not prizes of war, he told them. They would be wives, not slaves. They would have the full honor of Roman marriage. They would share in the citizenship and the property and the future of a people who would be great. The grief of this moment, he promised, would be repaid by the dignity of what was to come. Some were consoled, many wept, all remained. The war, when it came, was fierce and sustained. The Sabine king, Titus Tatius, gathered his forces and marched on Rome. There was treachery at the Capitoline Hill. A Roman girl named Tarpeia opened the gates for the Sabines in exchange for what they wore on their arms, meaning their gold bracelets. They buried her instead under their shields and left her name in the cliff from which traitors would ever be thrown. Battle was joined in the valley between the hills, the ground that would one day be the forum, and neither side would break the other. And then the women came. They came running from every direction, hair loose, robes torn in mourning, throwing themselves between two armies, between the lines of men who were trying to kill each other. And they cried out words that stopped the battle where argument and valor had not. On one side our fathers, on the other our husbands. We will not survive the victory of either. The army stood still. Peace was made, not merely a truce, a union. The Sabines and Romans became one people. Titus Tatius ruled alongside Romulus. The Sabine women, by their grief and their courage, had done what no general could. They had turned two peoples into one, and out of an act of violence had made the beginning of a nation.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Covenants and Kingdoms. I am your co-host, Brad, along with...
Hey, I'm Nathan. How you guys doing?
And we're back for another episode, still in Genesis.
Yep, forever. We still got a long ways to go, yeah, too. So,
but before we get started, as always, we're brought to you by Baba Java Coffee, located here in Birmingham, Alabama. We're a specialty coffee roaster with 3 cafes in the area. And if you're looking for good quality coffee that makes an impact at the farm all the way to your cup, come see us at any of our locations. But you can also go online at babajavacoffee.com and use the discount code Covenants at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order. All right.
And if you order 10 pounds or more of Baba Java coffee, Brad will don his Roman centurion outfit, his armor with a short sword and long lance.
Okay, so...
And he will deliver it on the back of a white steed at the head.
The problem though with that, Nathan, is that's actually plausible. Somebody could order 10 pounds of coffee.
Oh, 100 pounds. I'm so sorry. I'm not changing.
I can see
10
Matt
pounds.
over there right now.
10 pounds.
Matt's over there. Matt's
10
already,
pounds right now.
Matt's already getting his order ready.
I meant 100 pounds, but I said 10 pounds. So, Brad, get your centurion.
Oh my gosh.
Your Roman armor ready. As Romulus claiming the city.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, there's no segue out of that. So it's an interesting story, Nathan. Start us off. You mentioned before you even started recording this was going to be a very deep episode. So
yeah, I don't really know where we're going to go with it, but it's a deep and heart-wrenching story. Lots of moral ambiguity. What's right? What's wrong? It shows a lot about the character, about the A&E culture, which carries over to the modern Near Eastern cultures and cultures of honor and shame. We'll talk about some of those things, how it has even spilled over to modernity, not in Western cultures. And we will talk about the difference between how we view things and how other cultures view things. And so we're gonna talk about some of these issues. Some of them won't be resolved. It's hard to talk about. They've been debated for thousands of years.
Yep.
So we're gonna plod through this from a biblical worldview and see if we can talk about this. I really wanted to have a woman's perspective today. We just didn't work it out in time. Maybe we'll come back to this at some point and talk about it, because these issues we need to, especially from a biblical worldview, because it's hard to understand what's moral, what's ethical, and from our modern lens, from our modern Western lens, from ancient times, rape, sexual oppression has been a huge part of the human condition from the very beginning. And so we're going to talk about some of these issues, and from a biblical worldview, it's deep. It's heavy.
I think it's good to remember that, especially when you get into narrative sections of Scripture, just because it's in there doesn't mean it's prescriptive. Like, doesn't mean it should be done. It's
right.
A lot of times, even especially Old Testament narrative, it's just an account of what happened.
Right.
So
I mean, we'll get to Joshua and the conquest of Canaan, and so again, hard issues.
Yeah.
But that one was prescribed by God.
Yes.
But for a reason.
Yes.
It wasn't just like he just decided arbitrarily, like
wipe out the
like
whole
some of the
people.
Ideologies of today. Oh, we're just going to go and conquer it for our own namesake. There was a specific reason, and we're going to talk about why that's a specific reason, why that was prescriptive. But today we're going to talk about something that wasn't prescriptive.
No, it's
just part of culture, and it's carried over to today. We'll show. How it wasn't endorsed by God. It wasn't exactly what the way he would have planned it to be.
Right.
But these people that we're dealing with are humans, and they do things wrong, just like we do. Just because they did it this way doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. We should not follow these examples.
Right.
But we'll go through, talk about some of these things. Okay. All right. Let's read Genesis 34, the whole chapter.
Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the women of the land. And when Shechem the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he seized her and lay with her and humiliated her. And his soul was drawn to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this girl for my wife." Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, but his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. The sons of Jacob had come in from the field as soon as they heard of it, and the men were indignant and very angry, because he had done an outrageous thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter. for such a thing must not be done." But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him to be his wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. You shall dwell with us, and the land shall be open to you. Dwell and trade in it, and get property in it." Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give. Ask for me as great a bride price and gift as you will, and I will give whatever you say to me. Only give me the young woman to be my wife." The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully, for he had defiled their sister Dinah. They said to them, "We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become as we are by every male among you being circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and we will be gone." Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem, and the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most honored of all his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, "These men are at peace with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us to become one people. When every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised, will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us." And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. On the third day, when they were sore, two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and came against the city while it felt secure, and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with a sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the city and in the field. All their wealth, all their little ones and their wives, all that was in their houses, they captured and plundered. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me stink to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." But they said, "Should he treat our sister like a prostitute?"
Okay, so our intro story today was the story of how Rome, the initial Rome was founded as a misfit toys city. Remus and Romulus founded it. They didn't, but that's the myth. Mm-hmm. And so Livy recounts the story of Romulus founding Rome, and he invited everyone, all the bad people come in. So it was founded with all these misfits, and they didn't have any wives. So when they died, their city was going to die. So they had this way of kidnapping the women from the surrounding areas, and they kidnapped, and it's called the rape of the Sabines. Mm-hmm. That's how Livy describes it. So that they forced them to be their wives. Mm-hmm. Now and we'll see why. That's why I use this story, because Shechem wanted to force Dinah to be his wife, right? Mm-hmm. So as part of ancient cultures, women were not looked at the same as they are in modernity, especially Western modernity.
Correct.
In other cultures, women don't have the same level as men. And they don't really in Western cultures either. It's getting a lot closer. But women traditionally were not the same level as men. They weren't. In some cases, maybe as on the level of some of their livestock or animals, their property. Men looked at women as objects of they can only be mothers and servants, basically. Yeah, that's it. They were good for having children
and working
and doing and serving me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not like that in our culture. Anymore, but that's how it was traditionally in some of these A&E cultures. And so we'll see how women are just basically property to be bartered. And I've been rereading some classical literature, and I'm really on a Dumas kick right now. So I was rereading The Count of Monte Cristo and Three Musketeers and stuff like that.
Those are good.
So in The Count of Monte Cristo, that's in the early to mid 1800s. You can see how women are viewed at that point, which is 200 years ago. It's a lot closer to where we are now than it was at this time, but still they had dowries. There were arranged marriages. This is this is in France, so it's a Western culture. They would arrange marriages and things like that. Women didn't have a choice to marry. It was what's best for their family, right? They were given dowry. The men were given dowries to marry my daughter or whatever. There was immorality involved because the women were not married to someone they loved, so it made these moral things more ambiguous. They wanted to be satisfied and fulfilled in themselves, but they were with someone they weren't married. So these issues have been with us for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I was most recently reading The Three Musketeers, which is just it's a fun book. There's lots of violence and
swords play and
but it's fun. But this is in the 1620s is where it's set in France, obviously. And so one of the main stories in The Three Musketeers is a guy from England is in love with the Queen of France, and there's this whole tension between them, lots of affairs of married women and things like that. D'Artagnan, the main one, is in love with his landlord's wife. I mean, it's just one of these things over and over again where we see this immorality involved because women were forced to marry someone they didn't want to marry necessarily. That's just a sample. Think of how bad it was even back in the time of the patriarchs. Okay, so it's one of the most debated chapters in the whole Bible. So we're talking about the rape of Dinah, and we pronounce it Dinah. I have a sister-in-law named Dinah, spelled differently than we would spell the English translation of this. Most people would say this is Dinah, but we would pronounce it Dinah, right? That's me. So Shimon and Levi, their deception, and then the mass killing of the men of Shechem, killing all the men in Shechem, and then plundering of the city, including women and children.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then this tense confrontation between Jacob and his sons, where Jacob's main issue is not, why in the world would you go and kill all these men and women? I mean, kill all these men and take the women and children as slaves. What was he worried about? He was worried about his reputation, how he's going to look to the surrounding peoples, and also that he would be vulnerable because they would hate him now. So we'll talk about all these issues. Okay, this is very uncomfortable. It deals with sexual violence, ethnic conflict, covenantal deception, and collective retribution. The history of an interpretation of this chapter has been very ideologically diverse. Okay, some readers celebrating Shimon and Levi as righteous avengers, others condemning them as murderers, which that'll probably be closer to that, or somewhere in between. We will need to hold all of these complex issues and talk about them. Okay, the narrator here, the writer of the narrative, okay, and the stories passed down. Remember, when these stories were passed down, they didn't have a notebook. They couldn't just go to Walmart and buy a notebook and write down with their pen, okay, and buy like 1,000 different types of pens, right? They didn't have a way and a means of doing this. These stories had to be orally transmitted until they were compiled, like beginning in like 1000 BC. Okay, so that's when they started to be compiled, okay, and organized. Okay, through those 100 years after 1000 BC, the time of David, right? That's when they started to be organized canonically, right? But before then, they were orally transmitted down through the generations. Okay, so the means by which it was transmitted is not endorsed or condemning either one of these characters. They're just telling the story.
Yeah.
All right. And then the morality and the theology has to be kind of inferred and taught from the context and how it applies to other passages too. Okay. The characters of the people, the character of God, the interactions and things like that, the things that are taught in other areas of the Bible. Okay. So just from this one small little tidbit, this little section, we can't necessarily theologically interpret every motive of what these characters do because we don't have all of that. Yeah. Okay. What does it mean to be covenant people in the midst of the nations? In the midst of people that this is very applicable to today.
Yeah, it is.
What does it mean to be a covenantal people, a person in God's covenant among other people who don't believe the way you do, who don't have the same ideals that you do, who look at things differently than you do? When you mix cultures together, like the United States and other places, Western countries, when you mix cultures together, what does that mean? And how can we apply our covenantal relationship with God and be in the world, not of the world? Okay? What happens when that identity is violated? What happens when it's crossed? When people, this is a very, listen, we try our best to be apolitical. I don't want to be political because I think there's many different ways to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a big issue today.
Yeah.
What happens when other people that aren't in the covenant try to force their ideology and their way of looking at things, their worldview, into your culture? And the way, in a covenant, that we think the world should be. The way we think the world should be, other people think the world should be this way, and then they infringe upon your life.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? And how do we react and things like that? These are very complex questions that aren't easy to answer.
No.
And this is a great example of that, okay? Are rage and sword the response? Is violence and destruction the response to those things? All right. So verse 1. Now Dinah, okay, very important, the daughter of Leah, right? She's Leah's daughter, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the women of the land. All right. So, of course, just like most young people, they don't want to just be isolated, at home. They want to get out and about and see what's going on and be involved with other people and be social and things like that. All right. So notice the genealogical identification. Dinah bat Leah, Aser, Lida ya Yaakov. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob. Scholars have noted the unusual double identification, daughter of Leah and born to Yaakov, right, to Jacob. Dinah had been mentioned once before in Genesis 30:21 that Leah bore a daughter. It just says she bore a daughter. Yeah. And now we're getting the identity of this daughter. So now we're characterizing her. We're seeing who she is, but still defined by her maternal and paternal lineage rather than by her own name or history. So we don't really know a whole lot about her. We know her in terms of she's Leah and Jacob's daughter. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. The verbs, watetse, she went out, significant. In the Hebrew narrative word, the going out of a woman from the protective space of the house is a way the narrative means, it's not a moral judgment on Dinah, but a shift in the geography of vulnerability. Compare Judges 11:34, where Jephthah's daughter goes out to meet her father and encounters her doom. So in many cases, when they go out of the protection, they're exposed to the world, the evil. Again, not necessarily evil, just exposed to danger.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like going into the unknown. All right? That chaos that we see, the chaos narrative that we see throughout the Bible. Okay? From the protective space under the covenant to go out from her father's protection to the unknown, where she's in danger. Okay? Or from 2 Samuel 13, where Tamar moves from the safety of the royal house to Amnon's house, where she encounters the same type thing. So in both cases, they went out from their protection. All three of these cases, they went out from their protection and ended up sexually violated. Okay? The purpose of Dinah's going out, ha'aretz, to see the daughters of the land. Aretz. This is an act of social curiosity, entirely natural for a young woman. I mean, she's a young woman, just like everyone. So it's social curiosity. So it's not like, it doesn't say anything about her wanting to go and, worship idols or be involved in pagan cultic practices or anything like that. She's just a young person that wants to know more than just being at the house, right?
Yeah. She wants to go hang out.
She wants to go hang out with other people and see what's happening in the world, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not her fault what happens. She's just curious. She's just a curious young person, right? Verse 2. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he seized her and lay with her and humiliated her. Okay. Vayare, he saw. Yakech, he seized, took. Yishchab otah, he lay with her. And then Vayane, he humiliated, afflicted her. So that ane, it's a ain, means to oppress or to afflict or to make one humble by force. Okay, it's the same root used in Exodus for Israel's oppression at the hands of Egypt. Ane. And the same root in Deuteronomy 22 and 24, 22, 24, and verse 29 for sexual violation. So forcing yourself. So oppressing someone violently.
Yeah.
Okay. It's using the technical vocabulary of sexual assault. It's not seduction. So he's using this on purpose. Okay. It means she didn't want this. Okay. She did not give her consent to this. She was forced into this. Okay. So there's three rapid verbs: saw, seized, and lay. It's the classic saw, desired, took sequence we see from Genesis 3, 6, okay, in the fall.
Yeah.
And in Genesis 6, 2, the sons of God taking women. All right. So it's a lustful, forcibly taking what you want.
Yep.
Okay. The author wants us to feel the violence of the sequence. Okay. Saw, seized, lay. Saw, seized, lay. Shechem, okay, is identified as Hachivi, a Hivite. Nashi, Haaretz. So Sa'ar, like a Sar, a prince of the land. His social standing makes this worse, not better. So he's using his power, his social standing, his political, social, and economic standing as a prince of the land to violate and oppress someone who is in a lower social place than him. Okay? His father Hamor's name means donkey.
Like Hamor.
With the ancient, so it's some ancient interpreters read it as a pejorative. Okay, an animal unknown for unbridled sexual appetite in this A&E iconography. Okay. Verse 3 and 4. And his soul was drawn to Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Give me this girl for my wife." Okay. Here's where it gets morally ambiguous. Okay, in the A&E culture and the cultures of the people, in the law, even in the law, if you force a woman, like Shechem has with Dinah, what does the law say that you should do? The law says you should marry her.
Yeah.
Right? If you force yourself upon someone and you leave her, that's an abomination.
Yep.
That is bringing shame upon her family. Having sex with her and then leaving her. Right?
Yeah.
But if you have sex with her, even if it's forced, it doesn't, this is the irony. It's not necessarily forbidden to not force yourself upon a woman.
Yeah, as long as you marry her.
You just have to marry her, right? But so in this case, this is the moral ambiguity. He's doing the right thing according to the law, all right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's actually, according to the law of Moses, he's doing the right thing. It's not, the fault was not that he forced himself upon her necessarily, okay? Because that was part of the culture.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not, we're not saying, we're not condoning these things.
No.
We don't think that's right. But according to the culture of the time, it's okay. As long as you marry her. Okay?
Yeah.
So he's trying to make things right, apparently, according to the culture and the customs of the time. Okay? The violence, the napsho, his being soul. Remember, nafesh, nafsho. His soul was drawn to Dinah, and he loved her. I mean, or lusted her. Love. What does love mean? We're not into romantic poetry here.
No.
We're not Lord Byron. We're not romanticizing these things, right? We are. We're talking about love in terms of a practical, physical thing. Okay, that's how traditionally in A&E cultures they looked at love. Okay, I desired her. I wanted her. That's the love according to him. Okay, just like what we saw in the story, David's sons. Okay, that we talked about earlier. Okay, so and he spoke to the heart of the girl. Okay, this phrase, da'aver alev, to speak to the heart, is a phrase. It's a beautiful phrase. It's a phrase of tender, intimate speech in the Hebrew Bible. Okay, we see it over and over again. It's used many times, and it's used in Ruth 2:13, when Boaz speaks kindly to Ruth. It appears in Isaiah 40. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem. It's the language of comfort, assurance, and love. Okay, so he's not like this gruff dude that is, well, I want her, so I'm going to, he did. He forced himself upon her. But now, it's like he's trying to make things right in the right way. Okay, what do we do with this? So from our perspective, it's abhorrent to force yourself to use sexual violence, especially if you're in a position of power, to force yourself upon someone. We know there are literal many laws about these, and
right.
we've evolved laws against this type of behavior. So from our culture perspective, just all that he's done is wrong, right? So no matter what he does after that, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
The fact that he committed this act of sexual violence is abhorrent to us. In the culture of the time, it's not necessarily.
Well, we would even say, even in our culture, him trying to marry her is even worse.
Right. Right, because is that going to bring psychologically those things back upon her over and over again every time he's with her? I mean, yes, but according to the culture of the time, he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so he committed sexual violence. Then he loved her and wanted to do the right thing. The narrator does not resolve this tension. Some scholars, Itasheres and others from feminist biblical scholarship have argued that the text actually portrays Shechem's remorse and genuine affection, and that the subsequent violence of Shimon and Levi is therefore disproportionate. Others, like Hamilton and Wenham, maintain that no subsequent affection can retroactively justify the initial violation. Okay? What we can say theologically is that the narrative is not giving us a simple villain. All right. So there's not a good guy and a bad guy here. There's a bad guy and a bad guy here. Okay.
Yeah.
It's giving us a fallen human being who committed a horrible act, tried to do the right thing through negotiation and marriage. That's the conventional social pathway.
Yeah.
I mean, Deuteronomy 22:20, the law says that. Yeah. Okay. That convention was itself morally insufficient. The entire story judges it as such, but we shouldn't flatten Shechem into like this monster.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to us, he is. At the time, he wouldn't have been. Do we understand that?
Yes.
All right. It's hard for us to understand these things because we can only see the way we look at things, right? But at the time, this is a practice that was okay.
He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. He couldn't control himself or whatever.
Yeah.
That's no excuse.
No.
But no matter what, but because she was just a woman, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right.
He saw, and he took. All right. But then he's trying to do the right thing according to the laws of the time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Verse 5. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, but his sons were with the livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. Jacob. We've seen Jacob evolve spiritually throughout this whole narrative, right? He's a deceiver, a usurper. He wants to make things happen in the way he wants to do it, right? But yet God has broken him, literally.
Right.
And his character has evolved spiritually. Okay? And we're going to see it in the next chapter even further. So it's just funny how through all these great things through that reconciliation with Esau in chapter 33, the experiences with Yahweh, the physical manifestation of Yahweh, the renaming and the recharacterization of him as one who's, instead of one who is a deceitful usurper, to one who strives with God and reconciles whole nations with each other. And then we have this narrative. And then in chapter 35, we're going to see him experiencing God again. So it's just funny. It shows the human condition. Jacob, even though he's having, we go through spiritual ups and downs. We're not just up all the time. I mean, that's how we want to be, but that's not how we are, right?
Correct.
We have great spiritual moments. We're on the right track. We're with the Lord. We're doing good things, and then boom, the next day we do horrible things. That's the human condition. That's what we do, right? That's why we have to have grace and mercy. Amen. And so we see that again with Jacob. Jacob, something horrible. I mean, what would you do if something like this happened to your daughter? A time you would go a time to kill.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I've got a 6 hour that would.
We would go all the time to kill John Grisham on their butts.
Yeah,
right.
I'd be angry as a. Yeah, be real bad.
Jacob heard about it and he's just hanging out. Okay. His whole his daughter, his only, I mean, it doesn't say he has any other daughters. We don't know if he has any other daughters or not, right?
Yeah.
He may have. They just don't report it. But as far as we know, this is his only daughter.
Yeah.
And it's a true daughter from one of his actual wives, right? Not through one of the concubines. So, and she just got violated in the culture of the time. That is dishonor upon your family. So not only has presumably his only daughter been violated, it brings dishonor upon your family. And not only that, it's from someone who's not in a covenantal relationship.
Yep.
An uncircumcised Canaanite, a Chivi, right? And what's he doing? He's just hanging out.
Keeping silent, as Scripture says.
Now, is this because in the past he would have taken action immediately, right? Maybe it's his way of not being too rash.
Maybe.
I don't know. Don't be hasty, Master Jacob. Right? So this is contrasted with some other places in Scripture. So 2 Samuel 13, 20, 21. David was very angry with Amnon's rape of Tamar, but he didn't punish his son Amnon because he loved him. Jacob's silence is ominous. And the story will end with him condemning not the violation of Dinah, but in danger to his standing. We'll get there. Jacob's moral priorities seem to us, in our modern lens, very disordered. Okay? All right. Verse 6 and 7. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Yaakov to speak to him. Okay? Again, they're trying to do the right thing here. The sons of Jacob had come in from the field when they heard it, and the men were indignant and very angry because he had done an outrageous thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter. For such a thing must not be done. Okay? So, again, we have this morality, and we don't have the codified law at this point, right? We don't have it. There's no, Jacob and his people are Hebrews.
And we were, what, 600 years from it, probably?
Yeah. They're Hebrews.
Yeah.
400 something years, almost, not quite 500 years. But yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Do you remember what happened 500 years ago? Let's see.
No. Well, it was the Dark Ages.
1500s.
Towards the end of the Dark Ages.
Yeah. Exactly. It's right at the beginning of the Renaissance Enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I don't remember. I mean, just stuff I've read.
Yeah.
I've read about it.
Yeah.
There's no reading about it in Jacob's
there's no
time,
reading
right?
about it.
He doesn't, they don't know what happens in 500 years. So anyway, the law is not there yet. But there's this moral law, okay? There's this morality that people know. It's written on our hearts. We know the things we're supposed to do and the things we're not supposed to do, okay? A very important part of this early part of the patriarchal period. There's this law that's in people's hearts, Romans 1, right?
Yeah, Romans 1 is not just for New Testament. It's for all time.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's this law that's in our hearts. We know what we're supposed to do. These people are trying to do the right thing, right? Even though something bad happened, they're trying to make it right. Okay, so the narrator uses one of the most important theological and legal terms in the Bible here, okay? Nabala. Nabala. Outrage, folly, disgrace. This term occurs at key moments of sexual violence and covenant violation in Scripture. Judges 19 through 20, where the rape of of the Levite's concubine at Gibeah is called Nabala. It's an outrage. Compare 2 Samuel 13:12, where Tamar herself uses this word. Do not do this, Nabala, outrage. The term is also used in Joshua 7:14 for Achan's covenant violation, where an outrageous thing where he stole the plunder, right? Which led to the death of the small, anyway. And in Deuteronomy 22:21 for sexual immorality that brings disgrace to Israel. Nabala. Okay. It's not just a moral failing, it's a covenant crime, a violation of the social and sacred order that Yahweh has established for his people. Okay. This is an outrageous thing. Okay. So it's not just a normal sin, it's an outrageous thing. It's a really bad thing that's happened. All right. So the author really wants us to understand that this is not just, again, even though in the culture of the time, things like this happen, unfortunately, right? To us, it's an outrageous thing.
Yeah.
And the author wants us to know that to them, it's an outrageous thing too. Okay? Even though culturally it's not an outrageous thing, to God's covenantal people, it is an outrageous thing. Do we understand that?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. Ki nabala asha be Israel. For he had done an outrage in Israel. It's particularly striking. Okay? At this point in the narrative, Israel is not even a nation. It's a family, right? Yeah. Israel is Jacob. It's his family. So Israel, in this point, is just his family, all right? It's the covenantal family, but it's just a family. So basically, the author's basically saying, this family is what's going to become this nation, this covenantal nation. And of course, we know, as we will get into the theological implications of that, what Israel really means, okay? It's a spiritual interpretation. Paul says Israel's not just the physical heirs. Israel is all the people that are in a covenant with Yahweh. Okay? Again, that's not replacement theology. Okay?
No.
That's biblical theology.
Exactly.
All right? It's not the church. The church doesn't replace Israel. It's all people who are in covenantal relationship with Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's Israel. That's what it means. We're the ones who strive with God. Right?
Amen.
I mean, Romans 11. Don't argue with me. Argue with Paul. Right? So, what happened to Dinah was a defining offense against the covenantal people and the community's identity. This is what must not be done in Israel, in the covenantal community. Okay? Lo yashe'aken. Such a thing must not be done. Lo yashe'aken. Right? It's a formula that marks the absolute categorical notion of this prohibition. It's prohibited. It's an outrage. Okay? Verse 8 and 10, but Hamor, the donkey, spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem, the soul, right? The soul, nafesh, longs for your daughter. Please give her to him to be his wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us and take our daughters for yourselves. You shall dwell with us, and the land shall be open to you. Dwell and trade in it and get property in it. Okay. So seemingly, this is a really good thing. You know, what's wrong with making covenant, with making, it's like NATO. It's, it's a treaty with the peoples around. It seems like a really good thing. And according to our modern lens, this was a good thing. We want to make peace with everybody around us. Right? That's what we want to do. Right? That's what we do. But his proposal is politically sophisticated and economically attractive. He's offering full integration, intermarriage, open commerce, property rights. Does that sound like our foreign policy of every Western country?
Yeah.
Does that sound like the ideals that we want as a political entity?
Yeah, we want to be friends with. We want open commerce. We want property rights. We want families to grow.
Free movement.
Yeah. Right.
Free movement, open commerce, property rights. Those are the things we want as a democratic people, as a capitalistic democratic people. Those are the things we want, right? Those sound really great. In A&E terms, this is an extraordinary offer, okay? The equivalent of citizenship in the most prosperous Canaanite city of the region, right? And this is precisely what makes it theologically dangerous, because that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
Nope.
The offer directly echoes the covenant danger articulated in Exodus 34:15 and 16, okay? And in Deuteronomy 7:3, you shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughters to their sons or take their daughters as your sons, for they would turn away your sons from following me. The prohibition of intermarriage in the Torah it's not a racial thing. It's a theological thing. Okay? The Canaanite peoples, whose religious practices included high place worship, sacred prostitution, child sacrifice, would draw Israel away from Yahweh and the covenant he has made with them. Hamor's offer, however sincere, whether it is or not, is an invitation to dissolving the covenant integration, to dissolving the covenant with Yahweh.
Yeah.
So in a worldly sense, it seems exactly what we've always dreamed, exactly what we want, to have peace with peoples around us, okay? But what that does is it compromises your covenant identity with Yahweh. Okay, do we understand that?
And it's a direct disobedience of what he commanded them to do.
Exact. And again, the law is not there yet.
No, but he told them, do not intermarry.
He told them not to intermarry, okay? And they know they're not supposed to intermarry. Why? Because we've seen through the two big marriages that they didn't intermarry.
Right.
They intentionally didn't intermarry. So it doesn't say that they're not supposed to intermarry. I mean, Yahweh didn't command them during this covenantal period, this patriarchal period. Okay, he did later, so they knew they weren't supposed to.
You're right.
Right.
That's correct.
So the law says they're not supposed to. Right.
Yeah.
That's what we just read from. That's the law of Moses. That's Torah law.
Yeah.
But they know they're not supposed to. Again, there's not a command from Yahweh during any of their conversations, but they didn't. Yeah. So they know they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Right. So we have this balance between trying to be at peace and what's best economically for our family, but violating what God wants for us.
Yeah.
The covenantal relationship with Yahweh. Okay. So John Walton says that this word for dwell with us, okay, vishavu atanu, is the same root as yashab, the typical term for settled dwelling in the land. Shechem is offering Jacob's family what no patriarch has had: permanent residential status, okay? Protected commercial access, property rights. It's an offer that would effectively end the pilgrimage of the identity of the covenantal family. Israel would cease to be sojourners, trusting in divine promise, and become settled urban dwellers integrated into the Canaanite society and economy, okay? That's what God said. This was going to be your land. So is this the opportunity? Is this what Yahweh wanted for them?
No.
The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father deceitfully because he had defiled their sister Dinah. Now, bemirma, deceitfully. It's the narrator's own word. Okay, it's not attributed to any character, but the narrator tells us that this is how they're doing it. All right. The sons of Jacob, okay, the sons of Jacob are operating in their father's old mode. They're going back to the family way, using deception, okay, to accomplish their plans, right?
Yeah.
Because he had defiled their sister. But the narrator doesn't endorse it, okay? Theologically, he's not saying this is the right thing necessarily, right?
Right.
He's just saying that's what they did. Okay, it's just a fact. And again, it's are our actions genetic? I mean, I think in this case they probably are. The whole family has used deception. Okay, so whether it's genetically they're just predisposed to do things like this, and we know, again, we've talked about this. Genetics can influence actions. It's just we don't understand how that works. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, but it does, and I think as we learn more and more, it does. And it's also, they've seen behavior like this.
Yeah, and they've heard. I'm sure they've heard the stories.
Yeah, they've heard stories about how everything happens right. Okay, verse 14 and 15. They said to them, "We cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become as we are by every male among you being circumcised." All right. So the sons of Jacob are weaponizing, does this sound familiar? Weaponizing this covenant of circumcision. Okay. Yeah. It sounds a lot like people that have ideologies today, religious ideological practices, to weaponize those things. That's what some eras of the church, they've done things like that. They've weaponized these ideologies in the guise of being from God to accomplish evil purposes. Yeah. Right? It's wrong. It's not right. And I think the narrator makes this clear in this case. Okay? From Genesis 17, it's the physical seal of the Abrahamic covenant. Okay? It's the means by which the cutting the covenant is given by Abraham. Okay? So it makes Abraham from Abram to Abraham. It seals that cutting the covenant part as the end of it. Yeah. Okay? It distinguishes Israel from the nations. It's not hygienic. It's not cultural. It is theological, okay, because it cuts that covenant. It's a seal of the covenant with all its obligations and promises, okay? To weaponize this, to use it ideologically as a trap, to offer it as a condition for political negotiation when the intention is to murder people is a profound desecration, okay? Yeah. They're using this ideology, treating the covenant sign as a tactical tool. This is one of the most disturbing ethical moves in the whole patriarchal narrative, maybe the entire Bible. They're using their covenant and the symbol of that covenant to murder people. It's horrible. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Heiser's argued in his lectures on Genesis and the Divine Council that the consistent theme in Genesis is the question, will the seed of the woman, the covenantal line, remain distinct from the corruption of the serpent and others, the Nachash and others, distinct from the nations that have come under divine judgment? So, we talked about the Table of Nations, Genesis 10, Babel, Genesis 11. We've talked about all those things, right? Every episode of this threatened assimilation. The sons of God taking daughters of men in Genesis 6, right? Lot's compromise in Sodom. Abraham's near loss of Sarah to Pharaoh and then Abimelech. Isaac's vulnerability to Abimelech represents this same structural threat. Genesis 34 is the most acute version of this threat in the patriarchal narratives. Okay? So assimilation away from the covenant, okay? Away from the intention of what the Lord wants for his people in the covenant, okay? That's why in the law, it's forbidden to intermarry. That's why he gives that, because that's not what he wants for his people. He wants them to be a holy people, a nation of priests.
Set apart,
not like everybody else,
right?
There's a reason he's taking them out of he literally took them out of the place. Okay. Genetically, they're pretty much the same. They're all Western Semitic type peoples. They're all pretty much the same genetically, right? But he took them apart specifically so they would be a people set apart under covenant, right? To develop into the system, the spiritual covenant that he has for us today, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is a perversion of this. It's like turning it in an evil way. Okay?
Yep.
Verse 18 and 19. Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem. And the young man did not delay to do that thing, for he delighted in his daughter. He was the most honored of all his father's house. So Shechem's eagerness to comply is moving and tragic. He did something outrageous.
Yep.
Something wrong. Okay? But then it seems like he really wants her to be his wife and really is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And he's willing to get circumcised right away. Mm-hmm. This dude's a grown man, and he's gonna go get circumcised. That ain't fun.
No.
All right. Okay. The word chapetz, delight, desire. It's a strong word of attachment and longing. Okay. Ruth 3:13. It's used in various psalms to describe God's own delight. Chapetz. Sorry, it's hard to say that. Chapetz. Okay. Shechem submits to circumcision because he genuinely wants Dinah, and he'll, whatever. When you undergo any kind of surgical procedure in the ancient times, there's no anesthesia. They probably get drunk or something. They probably do something, but there's no anesthesia. There's no antibiotics, so you could get an infection. Yeah. You don't want an infection down there. No. That's one place you don't want an infection. All right, you can get an infection and you could die. Any time you cut yourself intentionally, you could die.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, okay? So, but he's willing to do it, okay? He has no idea that this is a trap. Then he's going to die because of it, okay? Verse 25 and 26, on the third day, when they were sore, I'm sure, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, again, they're Leah's sons. Dinah is Leah's daughter, so they're full brothers and sisters. All right, they're full brother and sister, not half brother and sister. So that's why it's so important to Shimon and Levi, right? Mm-hmm. Each took his sword and came up against the city while it felt secure and killed all the males. Reuben is also a full brother, but he's not anywhere. It doesn't say he took any part of it, right? So Reuben, it doesn't say anything about him. It's just Shimon and Levi. They killed Hamor. Okay. And each took a sword and killed against the city while it felt secure and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. Okay. Shechemites are maximally incapacitated from the circumcision. It says they're sore. So Shimon and Levi move at this exact time. They know when it's going to happen. Remember, well, they were young when it happened to them, but they probably heard the stories.
They know how. And
they know when it's going to be, maximally sore and incapacitated, right? The narrator doesn't linger on the violence. The killing is reported in two swift verbs, but the moral horror is communicated in the preceding detail. The men felt secure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Betach. Right? Betach. Mm-hmm. Having acted in good faith. Whatever Shechem had done, these other men had done nothing but to agree to an integration that the prince proposed, okay? So, we talked about the tribal identification, Shimon and Levi, right? These are the second and third sons of Leah. Then it doesn't say the sons of Jacob. It says Dinah's brothers. So they're full brothers and sisters, right? Jacob was silent. His sons acted. These two, because Reuben wasn't there either, right? The fraternal bond, specifically the full sibling bond, drives the action. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the city and the field, all their wealth, all their little ones and their wives, all that was in the house they captured and they plundered. The plundering described in verses 27 through 29 goes far beyond the actions of Shimon and Levi. It says the sons of Jacob. So all of them were involved in this.
Yeah.
Okay. So the killing, the two did it. The plundering, hey, look at this. They all did it.
Yeah.
Including women and children taken as captives. Okay? It describes it without endorsement and without condemnation. It's simply reported, and the reporting itself is the moral indictment. We're meant to feel really sick about this. Again, these are God's covenantal people. This is not endorsed by God. This is not the conquest and
right
with the cherem
from Exodus,
from Exodus and Joshua. This is not the cherem. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is them just deciding this is what they should do. It's wrong. They're not supposed to do it. Okay? Bruce Waltke notes that the taking of the women and children as captives is described in the same vocabulary as war spoil laws of Deuteronomy, but without any of the divine sanctioning of these laws. What Shimon and Levi began, the whole family completes. And it's all built on a deception using the covenant's holiest sign. Then Jacob said to Shimon and Levi, you have brought trouble on me by making me stink to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I'll be destroyed, both I and my household. Okay. Okay. Now, I understand, we understand completely not wanting your whole family. It seems like he's trying to protect his family here, but really it looks like he's just protecting himself. All right. All that I've built, they're going to stink to me. I'm going to stink to them.
Yeah.
It's so after the rape of his daughter, again, that's an outrageous thing that happened. He didn't say anything about that. A massacre of the entire city, the plundering of an entire city, including women and children, nothing. His complaint is his reputation. You've made me stink. My numbers are few. I'll be destroyed. Jacob speaks entirely in first person singular. His danger, his household, his survival. Dinah's not mentioned. The covenant's community's purity is not mentioned. Using this deception of the covenant sign is not mentioned. Only his political and physical survival. Okay? So Brueggemann, in his Genesis commentary, notes that Jacob's response in verse 30 is the most theologically revealing moment of the chapter. He's still not grasped his role as patriarch and the bearer of the covenant for the people. He's operating as a tribal chieftain, calculating risk, not as the bearer of this covenantal promise, thinking about what the Lord requires. He's only thinking about himself and his family as it exists politically in the land. Okay? Yeah. So the theological evolution that had occurred before, he just forgets about it at this time. Again, that's us. Yeah. We think selfishly during times of crisis sometimes. All right? We don't think about the big picture. We don't think about God. We only think about ourselves sometimes. And that's what Jacob's doing. Okay? Verse 31. But they said, should he have treated our sister like a prostitute? Okay? This is interesting. I mean,
they're like, what did you expect? They raped our sister. It's like,
I mean, I get it,
Yeah. I mean, I know they were mad and angry. And I even get, I would understand wanting to take revenge on Shechem, but to kill the entire population?
So we've been studying Hosea, right?
Yeah.
Hosea in a small group. And so this word, it says, like a prostitute, is the same that is used in Hosea, that Hosea uses. Kazana, okay, like a prostitute harlot. It's the same root, zana. that Hosea uses over and over again, zonat,
describing Israel.
In describing Israel as an unfaithful woman, okay? And it's not a prostitute in the terms of like what we would think of a prostitute. It's someone who commits serial sexual sins is what it means, okay? So it's stronger than like an adulterous woman. It's like a serial adulterous woman, okay? Someone who commits immorality, we would call her like a nymphomaniac or something like that, okay? So the narrator gives Jacob no rebuttal. The question hangs unanswered, okay? It's the narrator's way of holding the moral tension without resolution. Shimon and Levi were right about Dinah's honor. They were wrong in the way they made it right. Jacob was right about the danger, but he was wrong in his priorities. Nobody comes out of Genesis 34 without looking pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the resolution, such as it is, doesn't come in chapter 30. There's no resolution. All right, that's it. We end the chapter and we move on to the next chapter, right? But in Jacob's deathbed blessings in Genesis 49, where he finally speaks prophetically about what the massacre of Shechem means for the destiny of these two tribes, okay? And we're going to talk a lot more about this when we get to the end of Genesis, because these blessings of Jacob, the oracles of Jacob, are really, really important for the rest of the Bible. And we'll talk about, for the rest of history, really. We'll talk about some of these things. So Genesis 49, 5-7, Shimon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Let my soul come not into their counsel. O my glory, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and in their willfulness they humstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it's cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. So it's an explicit condemnation, okay? The Hamash, violence used for their swords. And one of the most morally freighted terms in Hebrew. It's used in Genesis 6:11 to describe the violence that moved God to send the flood. The earth was filled with Hamash. Hamas, I'm sorry, it's Hamas. To say Shimon and Levi's weapons are instruments of Hamas is to place our actions in the category of pre-flood corruption. If I say this word Hamas, does that sound like anything?
Sounds like the Arabic word for Hamas.
Because it is.
Yeah.
Violence, destruction. They will use violence to achieve their end. Again.
And Hamas does that.
So, using ideology through violence.
Yeah.
So listen, that's exactly what these two guys did, Shimon and Levi. Yeah. That's what they did. They did the same thing Hamas does.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did the same thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic?
Very.
They did the same thing. Okay. The consequences are historical as well as theological. Shimon will eventually be absorbed into Judah. They'll basically just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
Levi will have no territorial inheritance, scattered through the cities of Israelites as priests and Levites, right? What Genesis 49:7 calls a curse, I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel, becomes, for Levi, the mechanism as redemption, okay? Levi's scatter is repurposed as a priestly distribution throughout the land, okay? The theological irony is profound. The tribe that weaponized circumcision, the covenant sign, becomes the tribe charged with administering circumcision through covenantal rites. It's so ironic, right? Whether this is grace or just God's sense of humor through irony, we don't know. It's left to the reader to contemplate that.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not by accident. Okay, it's not by accident. So Shechem. It's the son of Hamor's name, right? Named after, is the actual place named Shechem after him? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a great question. I don't know.
Potentially.
Or is it just the same word? It's just a coincidence. After the conquest, so Shechem's a significant place in the Bible, as we know. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. After the conquest, Joshua assembles all of Israel at Shechem for the covenant renewal ceremony. Standing in the shadow of Gerizim and Eval, the mountains of blessing and curse, Joshua recounts the entire history of Israel from Terah to the present moment, and calls the nation to choose. Choose this day whom you will serve. Are you going to, as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. Are you going to serve Yahweh, or are you going to serve the God, the Elohim of the nations?
Right.
Okay, we're going to serve Yahweh. So Joshua chooses Shechem. For this moment, it's a canonical statement. Shechem's a place of Jacob's altar, the place of Dinah's defilement, the place of the massacre. It's the most contested sacred site in the Central Highlands so far. Joshua's deliberately reconsecrating it as a place, even though it was defiled by violence and deception, it's now the place of the covenant renewal, so that the national identity of the covenant will remain here. Okay, Shechem must be redeemed because Shechem is where Israel's identity crisis was acute, and was the covenantal sign specifically was used to murder, and they raped too. They took the women as slaves.
Yeah.
John Walton, in his commentary of Joshua, notes that the covenantal structure follows the form of Hittite, suzerain treaties almost exactly. Historical prologue, stipulations, witnesses, you are my witnesses against yourselves, blessings, curses, and document deposition. Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God and took a large stone and set it up there under the terebinth that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. The stone and terebinth at Shechem, near the very oak of Moreh, where Abraham first received the promise, the covenant first came, the Lord first came to him to establish the covenant, anchor the covenant in the geography of patriarchal memory. The study of Judges and Abimelech, the corruption of Shechem. Okay, we won't get into that, but that's other things happen there. Hosea 6:9 and the priest of Shechem. We will talk about this. Hosea 6:9. As robbers lie in wait for a man, so the priests band together. They murder on the road to Shechem. They commit villainy. Okay. Hosea's reference to priestly murder on the road to Shechem is one of the most contested verses in the book. Some scholars read it as referring to literal priests who ambush travelers or pilgrims. Again, this is a place of pilgrimage. It's a very important place for the covenant. Others read it as a broader indictment against the religious establishment, okay, against the syncretism ordained by the priests, which I think that's the interpretation I would take. And when we were in small group talking about this, that's what we talked about. Either way, Hosea is using Shechem as a symbol of religious corruption and violence, just like Genesis 34. Okay. So Burnett talks about, after his research on Second Temple interpretations, notes that Hosea 6 was read by later Jewish and Christian interpreters as a prophetic commentary on the failures of Israel's priestly leadership, using Shechem as a geographic symbol of a deeper spiritual betrayal. This connection between Levitical violence in Genesis 34 and priestly corruption of Hosea 6 may be more than coincidence in the canonical shaping of these texts. Okay. Hosea, right before that, Hosea uses loving, the Lord wants chesed, right? I desire chesed, not sacrifice. The knowledge of God, da'at Elohim, rather than burnt offerings. This verse, quoted twice by Jesus in the Gospels in Matthew 9:13 and 12:7, places the Shechem reference immediately in the context of the failure of covenant love. The priests who should embody chesed are instead performing violence on the road to a place that was already soaked in the blood of Shimon and Levi's treachery. In addition, it's ironic that these priests are from what tribe?
Levi.
They're Levies.
Yeah.
They're Levites. They're so these same Levies who initiated the defilement of Shechem are the same ones who are defiling it again in Hosea 6, right? In Israel. Genesis 33 and 34. Through narrative contrast and tension, a profound version of the holiness of Yahweh and the covenant. Okay, Jacob names the altar El Elohei Yisrael, the God of all gods, the God of the high gods, is meant to be declarative from 34 of exclusive covenantal loyalty lived in the midst of the nations. Okay, and in Genesis 34, that declaration is tested by both the violence of the nation, Shechem's assault, and the violence of Israel, the response. Okay, neither violence resolves the theological problem. The integration offered by Hamor would have dissolved Israel's identity. The massacre performed by Shimon and Levi preserved Israel's separation, but through murder and violence. Okay, they used the covenantal sign as a weapon. Neither path leads to that wholeness, that shalom that the Lord intends for them. Okay, the narrator points us implicitly toward the only path that would have worked, the path of Elohim, God himself, eventually prescribed through the covenant. Okay? And Hosea articulates this very, very clear. Covenant faithfulness characterized by chesed and the da'at Elohim, the knowledge of God maintained not through violence against the nation, but through the distinctive character of a holy people. Okay? Da'at Elohim, knowing God in a covenantal relationship. Okay? What it means is knowing that da'at, the same thing that we use in a marriage relationship. Mm-hmm. A man knew his wife. Da'at, right? He knew his wife. So God wants them to, through chesed, that loving kindness, that strong love, that loving bond, covenantal bond, to know him as in a relationship, okay? Yeah. In that covenant that he provided for him, okay? Not through using violence, slavery, the things of the world. Remember how, all right, a good tree bears good fruit, a bad tree bears bad fruit, right?
Correct.
Jesus said the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. How do you know they're of the enemy? They steal, kill, and destroy. A bad tree bears bad fruit. Mm-hmm. Steal, kill, destroy. Killing, enslaving, oppressing, that's of the enemy. Mm-hmm. Okay? I have come that they might have life. Machaye. Okay? Life from death. Creation and beauty from chaos. Okay? Mm-hmm. Poor Dinah entered the chaos, and she was violated. She experienced the enemy, and yet the sons did the same thing as the enemy. So if you can tell a good tree through good fruit and a bad tree through bad fruit, they don't seem like they're good trees. Yeah, they're bad trees because they're killing and stealing and destroying. All right.
We tell our kids all the time, don't repay evil for evil.
Yeah, that's not God's way.
It's scriptural. You don't repay
chesed da'at. That's the things we want. The love. Okay? That's why Jesus said we should turn the other cheek. Yeah. I mean, don't repay violence for violence. It's just it's not God's way. No. It's against human nature. Because human nature is bad. Human nature wants us to do evil things because we're influenced by sin and by the enemy. I mean, we just are. Yeah. So that's our nature, is to repay and as vengeance. But vengeance is mine, says the Lord. God would have made things right.
Yes.
But they weren't patient enough to wait. They used their own means through deception, destruction, and death. That's not God's way.
No. Thank you, Nathan.
We'll probably talk about this again at some point.
I'm sure we will.
And
these themes will come back up again.
They always do, don't they?
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate everyone joining us, looking through Genesis 34, and we look forward to seeing you again on Covenants and Kingdoms.
Bye, guys. Thanks.